Good afternoon, everybody. This is another video, my first video. I want to talk about something. Today I'm going to talk about faith, religion and myself. I was originally pushed into the Church of England by my mother, who wanted to renounce responsibility for me by telling me the church would look after me and not her. Consequently, I was to be confirmed into the Church of England and to be able to take the sacrament, the bread and the wine. And first, I was very initially reluctant to do this, as this was not me wanting to do it. I was being forced into it. However, as time went on, I began to enjoy my Bible classes and the scripture classes, much to my mother's horror, who didn't want things to work out the way I wanted them to, or she wanted to do what she wanted it her way, which she didn't get. I was duly confirmed, of course, and took the bread and the wine at the sacrament, and for a time things were going well. But then the churches I joined after I got my own place, and I lived in a village called Starcross for the first time on my own, away from the parents, things started going a little bit funny. The first problem was that there was a question in some parts of the congregation, not all of them, it's true, but enough to make me feel a little disturbed in my thoughts, was that what have I done, what kind of sin have I done to use a wheelchair? When I pointed out I hadn't actually done anything that I could remember, one or two people must have said, you must have done something to end up like that. So I thought about this and I thought, no, this is absolutely wrong. And so I swallowed it and I carried on. And then sometime later, someone else wanted to start. Someone else said, I'll start praying for you so you can start to walk. Now, I take the view of the social model of disability, which is not, whereas my spina bifida is not the problem. The problem is the society around me, because this is not my world, it's an able-bodied world. And so, again, I took the opinion that I was happy where I was and I didn't need any prayers to walk or jump up and down or anything. I needed acceptance more than anything else. However, as time went on, the acceptance didn't really come, and I found myself being left on the fringes, as it were, of church and chapel. And so I slowly but surely dropped out and stopped going. And I decided if I was to have any faith, I was to keep it to myself and not to celebrate it, not speak life or anything like that at all, just keep my mouth shut and just pray to myself and be very, very quiet. I went on this like this for about 30-40 years until last year, when on Clubhouse I met a fellow poet, an American lady, and we began talking. She wanted to know about my poetry, and she was impressed by it, also she says. And so we began to talk, and eventually we became very good friends. We still are, in fact, we're very close friends now. Anyway, during the conversation, she told me all about her position with God and Jesus, and that she was a woman of God. I mentioned the story I've just told you, and we began talking. And I mentioned about me returning to faith, as at the time I was having a real rough patch. My marriage had fallen to pieces. I was out on the cliff edge, as it were, and I was looking for something to get me back onto some kind of a narrowness. Or so I thought at the time, not really considering that faith would be the way to do it. Anyway, we began talking, and she began helping me with my scripture classes again, Genesis and all that, of course. And then last December 25, I ended up in hospital with a kidney problem. Taken in on December the 30th. I stayed in 2 different hospitals until February the 12th. First in Torbay, and then on the 5th of January I was kicked up to Exeter, in hospital there, and I stayed there until the 12th of February. During this time, I suddenly realised that for the first time in my life, I was really on my own, in one respect. I'll explain later. Uh, and I had and my resources that I had relied on in my entire life, me, was suddenly running out at long last, and I found myself unable to rely on myself, and I needed support. Now, at this point, my friend here, who will remain nameless because I believe that's the way she would like it, uh, suddenly called me over WhatsApp from the US and in hospital, and we began talking. And for the next 45 days when I was in hospital, she was with me every night, and we talked about all kinds of things. And while I was there, I thought to myself, I have got to do something seriously about this, because for the first time in my life, I was feeling pretty empty of power and energy. Uh, Usually I was strong enough to deal with my own resources and deal with myself, but this time I was running short of energy. I was really running short. The major problem was that the things I'd wanted when I got back from Germany after my marriage had broken up hadn't happened, and they're still not happening, well, to any certain degree. And so I decided to go back on the trail to find faith. And the next step was I'm I'm on an app called Clubhouse. You may know it. And I started looking for religious rooms and prayer rooms. And I tried a couple, and then I found The Power of the Tongue. A lady called Brenda Sawyer is the chief moderator. And I went in there one night, and Brenda spoke an awful lot of sense and an awful lot of truth, which I could agree with. Because one of the things for me, about the entire thing of faith is, do I really need hymn music? All very nice. And do I really need the sermons and things? When I really want is a simple Bible and myself, and my own thoughts and prayers. And the ability to read the scripture. Do I really need to have a hymn sung about it, or the finery of a church service? You may think this is pretty weird, but I mean, I've given it a lot of thought, and to me, isn't they basically you, you and Jesus and God and nobody else? Unless you want somebody else there. I don't know about that one. Yeah, it's uh, it's an interesting thing. If you want to put any thoughts down on my channel, please do. I mean, I'm happy where I am at the moment. Prayers will no doubt be said for me because they want me to walk, and I will appreciate it. But I would like people to also understand that in trying to get me to walk, they are trying to take away an identity that I built over well over half a century. Not a very good one, maybe, but it's still an identity. It is me. Again, if you've got any thoughts, please put them on the channel. Well, that's enough for today, and I'll think about the next topic in the next week to talk about. Bye.